Hello, so students, and welcome to your biology lesson. In today's lesson, we'll be looking at blood still, but today's subtopics are going to be the process of clotting, the different types of blood groups, and last but not the least, the Rhesus Factor. So, let us start with the process of blood clotting. I'm sure you can remember that we looked at the blood cells that are found in blood. If you can remember, we looked at platelets. Platelets are blood cells that are very essential in the process of blood clotting. So, this is how the process of blood clotting takes place involving platelets. So, the first process is that the platelets go to the place of injury. Let's say you're cutting some vegetables, right? Then by accident, the knife passes through your skin instead of the vegetables. So at that moment, the first thing that will happen is that the blood cells known as platelets or the thrombocytes will go to that site and form a plug. And immediately this step takes place, the platelets get in onto the plug, they release chemicals to attract more platelets. So if there are more platelets, meaning the process of blood clotting will be easier. Now, there are a series of reactions that take place for blood to be stopped to go outside of the body. After the platelets are on the plug, what happens is that calcium ions, vitamin K, and other blood clotting factors form a prothrombin activator. Then, after they form this activator, the prothrombin is broken down or changed to thrombin. So the second step is the formation of the prothrombin activator. Then the third step is the change of prothrombin to thrombin. After prothrombin is changed to thrombin, the fourth step is that this thrombin is now used as a catalyst in the reaction of making the fibrinogen into fibrin. As you can see in the brackets, it's indicated that which looks like tiny threads. So the fibrin that is the fourth produced in the fourth step looks like tiny threads. And so because it's like tiny threads, it traps the blood that's supposed to be going out. And that's our fifth process. The fibrin that forms the web-like structure traps blood from coming out. And so that's how the process of blood clotting occurs. It's essential for you to know these 5 steps, as sometimes in exam questions you'll be told to state the 5 steps in which blood clotting takes place. Now, there are some points you need to note. The first one is that when these trapped blood cells are exposed to the atmosphere, they start to dry. I'm sure if you hurt yourself, then let's say a drop of blood drops onto the table, after some time you'll see that the blood will dry. And so that's the same thing. When the blood cells are trapped on that sore, we'll find that the sore will start getting dry, and therefore there will be a clot formed. Sometimes the clot may be referred to as the scab, so don't get confused if you see the word scab. Simply a dried clot of blood cells or blood. The other point you should note is that the process of blood clotting is also known as agglutination. So when they maybe say that state the process of agglutination, you simply know that they are talking about the processes in which blood clots. Now, with that said and done, now let's look at blood clotting in a diagrammatic way. So, in this part, I would like you to recall what we've just talked about. The first step, which is the platelets going onto the plug, then releasing chemicals that attract more platelets. Then after that, there's the formation of prothrombin activator, which converts prothrombin to thrombin in the third step. Then fourth, the thrombin is used to convert fibrinogen to fibrin. And then fifth is just simply the stopping of blood to go out by the fibrin, which is a web-like structure. So firstly, we said the vessel which is damaged starts to release blood. So this simply, the knife may be cutting through your skin. Then next, we've got the platelets going to the plug. As you can see, the platelets must adhere. I'm sure you can remember under the structure of the platelet, we said it's got a sticky surface. This is the importance. When a lot of platelets go to the plug, they will stick to each other. Then, if you can remember, from the second step to the fourth state, we were simply talking about reactions or processes that happen. So in this part, they're just simply many reactions that occur. Prothrombin being changed to thrombin, then thrombin being used to change fibrinogen to fibrin. After that, now we find out that the threads of fibrin block the blood from coming out. And simply that's how the process of blood clotting takes place. Now, let's look at the second part of this lesson, which was talking about blood groups. We said we're going to cover the process of blood clotting, blood groups, and the Rhesus factor. What are blood groups? Well, just to understand what they are, we can say they're a collection of blood that has the same characteristics. So a blood group has got blood which has the same characteristics. The characteristics being talked about here are the antigens and the antibodies. So when the two types of blood have got the same antigens and antibodies, they are said to be in the same blood group. There are mainly four blood groups that you need to remember. Sometimes you may hear them being referred to as the ABO groups. Yes, so the first one is group A, the second one is group B, the third is group AB, and the fourth is group O. Now, you should always note that the antigens are found in the red blood cells, while the antibodies are found in blood plasma. It's very important to know where the antigens and antibodies are located in blood. Sure, you can remember plasma makes up the larger percentage of blood, while the blood cells make up 45% of blood. Now, under the same blood groups, let's look at a bit more than just stating these four main blood groups. So we're going to start with group A. You should always remember that group A has got the A antigen, while it has got the B antibody or anti-B antibodies. I want you to take note of how the name of the group is related to the antigen present. So we're going to look at group B now. So in group B, we've got the antigen A, while we've got the antibody A. So antigen B and antibody A. I hope you can see that the name of the group simply gives us the type of antigen found in that group. Then the antibody is simply like the opposite of that name. So if we've got antigen A in group A, like we have here, then we'll have antibody B. For group B, we've got antigen B, while we've got the opposite of B, which is antibody A. Now, what will be the antigens of group AB? We said the name of the group is directly linked to the antigens, right? Yes. So, for the case of group AB, it has got both antigens. Now, what about its antibodies? Well, for its antibodies, group AB is known to have no antibodies. You see, what can be the opposite of A and B? Since we have both, well, there will be nothing, right? Yes. So what of group O? So group O and group AB are quite similar, but they are opposites of each other. So if we say opposites, meaning group O won't have any antigens, right? Yeah. And then it will have both antibodies A and B, right? Yeah. So that's what you should remember about the blood groups. It's very important to know these concepts, as when we look at blood transfusion, they'll be very helpful to understand which group can give blood to which other groups. Now, here's a table that you can copy down to easily remember the blood groups, their antigens, and their antibodies. We also said we're going to look at the Rhesus factor. What is this Rhesus factor? Well, the Rhesus factor is simply related to the presence of the D antigen on the surface of the red blood cell. So apart from the grouping of antigens and antibodies that we just looked at, blood groups can also be grouped according to their Rhesus factor. Rhesus factor plays a very important role when we look at blood transfusions. So we said the presence of the D antigen on the surface of the red blood cell is simply what the Rhesus factor is about. You should note that one person can only be Rhesus positive or Rhesus negative. There are only two limits. It's either they are Rhesus positive or they are Rhesus negative. And so, because of this, each group we looked at, which is A, B, AB, and O, is divided into Rhesus positive and Rhesus negative. And hence, in each group, in the ABO grouping, we've got group A Rhesus positive, group A Rhesus negative, group AB Rhesus positive, yeah, and so on and so forth. And hence, we come to have 8 groups in total, as you can see in the table. And so with that done under blood, we're safe to look at blood transfusions in our next biology lesson. That's all for today's lesson. You can review it to even get more clarity.